It's April 22nd, 2015. I'm Dana Durnford, also known as nuclearproctologist.org, and you can find these videos at Beautiful Girl by Dana on YouTube. We are on the expedition for life. This is the artificial radionuclides that Canada has now added to its drinking water standards. Look up Health Canada drinking water standards. 7,000 becquerels of trillium. So today I want to talk about Unit 1 up in the top corner, and Unit 2 right across, and Unit 3 right above me, Unit 4 right behind me in detail, and I'm going to show you some great pictures and really break that down for you. We towed the boat down yesterday. I'm in a hotel room right now in Queen Charlotte City in Categorie, an archipelago off the coastline of British Columbia, and the boat was too small to go around the top of Vancouver or Queen Charlotte's. It's about 100 miles down the coast, and I decided to bring it down by boat and launch it here yesterday afternoon. So that's a little video of us launching the boat yesterday afternoon. And the point being is that the trip is still ongoing, and we just done the top of Canada, the northwest corner of Canada, and there's around 22 algae at the 600 left, and all the other species are missing off the tidal pools, the coastline. And so what we're doing, we're looking at the Expedition for Life, and this is a crowd-funded emergency response to the lies, the manipulations, the deception by the nuclear industry upon this entire planet. And that's the death throes of the nuclear industry is what we're seeing here, and they have co-opted a lot of alternative media on top of all the mainstream media. And so we're going to jump over to Unit 1. We're going to start this off with. Now over in the corner is Unit 1. You can't see it. I'll give you lots of better pictures in a second. That one there is Unit 2. Unit 2. And this is Unit 3. Somewhere. It's way over there somewhere. And a little bit of it's over here. A little bit's down there. So there's a bit of Unit 3 down on the roof here. A bit of Unit 3 over on the roof over there. Inside of the pump house is over here is Unit 3. You see the ocean is right there. Unit 4, of course, the nuclear PR firms will tell you that everything is fine and that you just removed all the spent fuel pools from Unit 4. We'll cover that in a little tiny bit. So I want you to think about something was that Lawrence Teller and Oppenheimer, these were the three people that created the nuclear renaissance, if that's what you want to call it. I call it a nuclear genocide and an ecocide because that's exactly what's happening to us. Interesting story was they sold the idea of the technology like the caloritron for separating 235 from 238 by saying that it can help cure cancers. And Oppenheimer, he actually died of throat cancer.
And I think this next series of 3 pictures shows the growth of Lawrence's empire at Berkeley. The first cyclotron was some 4 inches. The diameter refers to the pole face of the magnet. The first cyclotron was about so. Then cyclotron being the particle accelerator, of course. Then 11 inches. Then the 27-inch. This is the 60-inch. Lawrence was able to fund his physics research for the boys by going to philanthropic foundations like the Macy's and Rockefeller Foundation, which were interested in the cyclotron and in radioisotopes as providing a possible cure or at least a treatment for cancer, either through the neutron beam radiation from the cyclotron itself or through the radioisotopes that would hopefully isolate selectively in various organs and act as magic bullets and kill the tumor therein. But there's always been a debate among the physics community as to how much Lawrence actually oversold this possibility of magic bullets and a cancer cure. I think it's fair to say that in the 1930s, the late 30s, that there was legitimate hope that this might be the case, that there might be a medical application of this technology, as it was then. Lawrence was accused of selling snake oil by Harold Urey, but I think in fact it was legitimate back then, but it certainly did fund the research the physicists did. This is the 60-inch, the so-called medical cyclotron, and the next picture is of the 184-inch, the giant cyclotron. This is the one that he, again, thought was going to be the breakthrough in terms of research in physics, just the understanding better the natural world. Instead, a variation of this machine called the calutron will be used to separate U-235 from U-238. Oppenheimer will die in February of 1967. This was the Princeton commencement the previous June. He dies of throat cancer, and you can see this is near the end.
So Unit 1 was 100% meltdown, melt through, melt out. There's nothing left of the building. The building was totally wrecked. You can't get inside of it for 1,000 years. This is the heat signature from Unit 1 over in the right hand corner. And Unit 2, of course, is still intact, but the building caught fire several times, detonated. The reactors melted down inside of it. The fuel pool was dispersed when it was atomized in aerosol. It lost its water and then lost the inventory itself, which is the fuel. And these are quickly dispersed and easily transportable around the entire planet. Unit 3 in the right hand corner is 100% destroyed, and Unit 4 over on the left hand side is 100% destroyed. And we'll just walk you through those buildings to make sure you really understand what they look like, because it's very confusing if you don't know how to go about it and what to look for. We're using a cement mixer to pump water up and just drop it down on top of what they hope will end up in the fuel pool. But the fuel pool was on the roof, so that's missing. I mean, that's what they were telling you, that we're pumping water down to fill up the fuel pool. The fuel pool was on the roof. As you can see, there's nothing there anymore. That is missing. Remember, this is a 10-story building, and that's where the fuel pools were stored, up on the roof. They're pouring water down on the melted reactor, and that's washing all the fissionable product down below the building through the cracked floors. Then it's getting whisked out into the ocean by a river that runs underneath this plant. That's their old shit plan, backup plan. They build all these plants on a river, and it'll wash it into your rivers or wash it into your oceans. Let me show you about this Unit 1. All the models are based upon, that you'll find, are only based up on a single release. This is Noah's model of the cesium-137 and iodine-131 with an 8-day half-life. So it's a joke to tell you that stuff, but the iodine never stopped coming out of there, by the way. And Canada now has it in its drinking water standards as a normal standard. It's not normal. All of the dispersal is based upon a single release from a single reactor for just a few days. Amazing deception that they got going on here. Unit 1 again, you can see the building is wrecked. It's wrecked, and it caught fire several times. And when it comes to nuclear, that's as worse as it gets. You can't get back in there because everything is coated in radioactive materials and radioactive particles. This is Unit 1. Remember, it blew up. It detonated on March the 12th. 2011. The building here is 10 stories, so you can see how high the plume is originally traveled for that particular explosion at Unit 1. Here's another look at Unit 1. They're building a sarcophagus around it, and what they do is they lay it in piece by piece with cranes. They put a Kevlar wrap around it with the cranes, big panels. You're not going to see anybody there with wrenches. You're not going to see anybody there with scaffolding. You're not going to see anybody there with cutting torches. But we know outside of this building was over 1 million sievers back when the accident happened. 5 sievers will kill you. What will 1 million do, I wonder? It'll kill all the homeless in Japan, I can assure you. And they're working hard to do that. And so they put a roof, a temporary roof on it. And the idea is they're going to vent the stuff up and then out the chimneys. So it's still releasing constantly into the atmosphere. They can't get in there. Once you built a sarcophagus around it, you gave up on it. You ain't never getting in there. Because, you know, everything becomes extremely contaminated now. More so than even what it was, because the stuff can't move away from there. So Unit 1 on the right hand side. Unit 2, and we'll cover a little bit of Unit 2. Unit 2 was a 100% meltdown, melt through, and melt out. And Unit 2 was actually what prompted TEPCO to discuss evacuating Fukushima workers. But they really did evacuate them, because reactor burned continuously for several days. It hasn't stopped because of a chain reaction, so it's still burning down constantly. It's into what they call a chain reaction. This can go on for millenniums till the end of time. That's the point of the chain reaction. That's why the sun is an actual true chain reaction. And the sun creates elements. We destroy the elements. We create our own elements, and nothing on the planet has ever encountered those elements, and they're extremely dangerous elements. That's why we have nuclear waste sites, and that's why we have terrorist laws. So Unit 2, why it might look like it's intact, is 100% melt down, melt through, and melt out. And the heat signature of number 2, you can see it's a vicious heat signature on that building, yeah? And Unit 2 is between Unit 3, was right alongside of it, and Unit 1 was on the other side of it. These buildings detonated And so it's surrounded, even if the building didn't have an issue, it would be surrounded by extraordinarily radioactive materials. Now, the rods that came out of this building, a pound of it, will kill everybody in your cafeteria, will kill everybody in the school you went to, will kill everybody in a club in half an hour. And you can drag everybody out. A single pound of this stuff, there's 5 million pounds in each reactor. There's 3,450 assemblies in each of these reactors. And each assembly has 80 rods. Each rod is 18 pounds and 12 feet long. You can do the math. Unit 2 and Unit 1, both of these units, were 100% meltdowns. We've never seen that on the planet before. Chernobyl was a 30% meltdown. Chernobyl stopped after 10 days. Fukushima hasn't stopped. 3 Mile Island stopped after 5 days. But when you think about Chernobyl, it was equal to 400 Hiroshima bombs in 10 days. See, that's what a chain reaction means. When you got a chain reaction, it's different than a nuclear bomb. It's like 400 nuclear bombs every 10 days. And say on the planet, we probably exploded around 1,200 nuclear bombs. The whole planet went mad because you released so much radioactivity up on this planet. And just a couple of bombs, and I'll put up a little video here of what they used to tell you about a few bombs being exploded in your country by, say, Russia, would contaminate 1 million square miles in a matter of days.
And the name is fallout, radioactive fallout. A large-scale nuclear attack on the United States could produce a patchwork pattern of fallout covering 2/3 of the nation, more than 2 million square miles in a single day. In this 2 million square miles, more than 100 million people living well beyond the destructive range of blast and heat could be subjected to dangerous or deadly amounts of radiation from fallout. Carried upward 15 miles or more by the mushroom cloud, spread laterally by shifting winds at all altitudes, fallout from a single thermonuclear blast could severely contaminate a 60-mile strip downwind from ground zero, 1,200 square miles within an hour of explosion, 4,000 square miles in 6 hours. All of us, even in small towns and on farms, live within fallout range of a likely target. Furthermore, since these targets are often only a few hundred miles apart, fallout patterns can overlap, intensifying the danger. How do we know all this? From practical experience. A thermonuclear test in the Pacific in 1954 produced a highly contaminated area 20 miles upwind and 220 miles downwind, with a variable width up to 40 miles, large enough to reach from Washington, D.C. to New York City, along the densely populated eastern seaboard. In this 7,000 square mile area, there would be enough radioactivity to threaten seriously the lives of all who failed to take shelter before fallout arrived. Let's look at it in another way.
Unit 2 is completely 100% destroyed. You can see the pictures I got here and put together. It's a write-off, and it's a write-off for the entire country and the entire planet and the Pacific Ocean if we don't deal with this. It might already very well be too late, but we still have to try. Unit 1, 100% meltdown. Unit 2, 100% meltdown. The next one we cover is Unit 3. Unit 3, of course, is a total destruction, and it threw its material all over the site. Here's a bad picture of Unit 3, but I just put that there because I couldn't find the high quality ones at the moment. You can see originally right after the detonation, there's nothing left of the building. It's all missing. The core itself was ejected out of the building. This is beyond imagination. that what's going on here and the lies that you're being told that this is okay and there's nothing to worry about. Have a look at the building and think about Chernobyl. Only lasted 10 days, 400 Hiroshima bombs worth came out. How many Hiroshima bombs worth came out of there? Out of these reactors in the last 1,500 days? Around 500,000 minimum. That's not counting the fuel pools. You think about the detonation at Unit 3, building down here is actually 10 stories high. And so it went way up there, it kept rising up, and it went straight up into the jet stream. These were huge, huge releases. Unit 3 was MOX fuel. MOX fuel is mixed oxide, is where they took nuclear missiles left over from the Cold War and put it through a chain reaction. Again, literally the stupidest thing you could ever do on this planet. When you put these elements through a chain reaction that are refined, they're extremely carcinogenic already. They become 2 million times more carcinogenic, 2 million times more dangerous. A death sentence for anybody that inhales a single particle. These reactors, a single particle is a cancer, and it might take 5 or 10 years if you only inhale one particle. It might show up right away within 3 years because it's such maniacal fuel that they were using. The mixed oxide fuel. This is hell on earth. And the media originally came out and told everybody that it was 2 million times worse than any other reactor on this planet, on the entire planet, was Unit 3. We don't know where Unit 3 is anymore outside of it detonated and went all over the place, and it's releasing into the environment, into the ocean, extraordinary dangerous materials, perpetual murder machine. And all of this stuff, when you have an earthquake down there, it shakes this stuff loose. That falls down on the hot corium that melted down, and that's full of atoms. That atomizes in aerosols and becomes ionized and radiated and is ejected at their extremely high temperatures. Think about the temperatures of a forest fire in Asia. It sends all the smoke particles, which are thousands of times bigger than the stuff coming out of here, straight up into the atmosphere, and it shows up in your indexes of pollution in North America within a few days, but it lingers over North America for months. That's a well-known study about pollution from Asia. The hotter the fire, the higher it will go. These fires are burning at temperatures we have never even seen. We can't even calculate anymore because we don't know. We've never seen nothing like this before. So you have 3 reactors that are emitted 100% meltdowns. Unit 4 in particular lost its inventory. Think about Unit 4. Look, it's almost down to the ground in damage. And so you don't see these shots too often. But they tell you inside of that building it looks like this. This is official pictures, both of those pictures. This is Unit 4, and they're saying they're taking the spent fuel rods out. But look at the building. Have a look at it. Inside of that building, can you imagine that it looks like that? For 1 second. You'd be pretty naive if you do. Here's an interesting view you don't see very often. Look at the back of the building. No one ever shows you that. But look at the destruction. Right down to the ground, the building is wrecked. That's 100% wrecked. It's completely wrecked. So they ripped off the entire top where the reactor was and where the fuel pools were at the roof, and they built this structure with cranes. They drop it in piece by piece. But they tell you in the media, and all your media has come out and showed you this picture. BBC, CBC, ABC, and NBC, all the media and all the apologists, and all the authorities on the planet come out and said this is them removing fuel from reactor 4. Wait a second, how can that exist if you ripped it all off? Not to mention that it all blew up and detonated. Anyway, so it's a huge, disgusting lie that they pulled. They pulled the wool over your eyes. They tricked you. They deceived you. Your media has showed you this picture over and over to brainwash you, and you can't even have a conversation with your friends or your loved ones because they've seen this picture and they think that everything is fine. And that's the distraction. That's the way of getting you away from talking about the melted reactors. Remember, this building doesn't touch each other. We're going to put a crane up here in the top, this part right here, to reach down and try to bring out any fuel rods they could find inside of it, because if you touch it, it will kill you. If you get close to it, it will kill you. You can't get in that building. So look at the bottom section. That is wrecked. Look at that bottom section. That is wrecked. Whatever's left of that building is completely wrecked. The reactor was on the roof of that. It's gone. The fuel pools were up at 10 stories. They're gone. But they told you that inside of this building, I mean, look at it. See, you don't see that view very often. All the way down to the ground, it's destroyed. The entire building, was gutted. It was a massive, unimaginable detonation. But yet they say inside of it, it looks like death. Think about what you're told. Look at it. Do you trust your own eyes, or do you believe the lying PR firms that are on this planet? If you think that that roof is somehow inside of that, and that the fuel pool looks like that inside of this reactor, where they actually ripped the roof off it, they took everything off it, and whatever's left is destroyed. You can see it with your own two eyes. And you need to get back in their faces. You need to hold these people accountable. Look at it. All the way down to the ground. It's completely destroyed. There's nothing in there. It blew out. It blew all over that site. And that's why they only send the homeless in there. That's why you won't see Harvard in there. That's why you won't see Yale nuclear scientists in there. That's why you won't see MIT scientists in there. That's why you won't see Stanford scientists in there. That's why you only see the homeless going in there. Because the media knows the difference, but they're not going to tell you. They want to salvage nuclear. But look at what it done to Unit 4. You know, and they got a pump truck washing all the fissionable products down to the building and down into the ground and out into the ocean. A perpetual murder machine. Here they are on top of the building at the fuel pool, but then they show you this picture and say this is what it looks like on the inside. How can it look like this on the inside? And if it did, why would you build a structure? Once again, look at the building. And here's the picture, the official pictures. These are all official pictures. And let's get back to the structure they put over it. See, why would you build that structure over it, tear the whole building down, if it looked like that on the inside? And so the people that are telling you that, you need to walk up and punch them right in the mouth. That's the only thing you can do with these people. They don't understand reason. They don't understand conversations. They don't understand debates. All they understand is you give them the good old hockey, pull the sweater over their head, and give them as many uppercuts as you can before you get arrested. But you're doing the world a favor by at least telling them that they're lying sacks of shit and that they're disgusting maggots and parasites. They are nothing but a burden on our society. That they are the most disgusting people imaginable. So this is the lie that you have to fight against, and we fight against, because nobody is allowed to have a conversation about this. No one is allowed to talk about that and say, hey, the building's destroyed. All you're allowed to say is, oh, they're removing the fuel from number 4. And if you don't buy into that, you get attacked. If you say, hey, wait a second, that don't match up. I think you're a sack of shit and you should shut your mouth, is how you should approach these people. When you see them, tell them to shut their mouth. You see James Colbert, shut your mouth, James. You see Dan Dix, shut your fucking mouth, Dan. You see Ryan Dawson, shut your mouth, you little prick. You're supposed to be on our side. Because they were the people that were supposed to tell you the difference. They were supposed to be the alternative media type people. And I'm a little upset about them. Unit 4, why did they got that going in there if there's no issue? Why did they got a cement truck there if there's no issue? Pumping water in there if there's no issue? And they were taking the fuel out with the big shiny machines that can't possibly exist. How can you have that? You can't get in there. Those people are friggin' dead. Anybody you see there, they're dead. They're dead. You can't be in that environment with fuel rods blowing all around you and survive it. It doesn't work that way. These are disposable people. That's what Japan does. And this building can't possibly exist inside of that. I'm so sick of having that conversation. They're looking for radioactive isotopes on the outside instead of the inside. Chernobyl, people died at a phenomenal rate. These were very brave people that volunteered and were conscripted on top of that. These were military personnel willing to put their life down for the country, and they had all equipment. They were physically fit. They had good food. They had everything going for them. All we do is we send in the homeless, the destitute, the victims of society. So Chernobyl, they sent in the military. Chernobyl, they had all kinds of equipment and people that knew how to use it. Chernobyl, they had everything they ever needed given to them to go do the job, and they did. And they sacrificed themselves willingly. Willingly. At the 600 helicopter pilots, they all died of radiation sickness. This guy fell right out of the sky into the reactor itself. This is Chernobyl. Don't be a radioactive sheep. Rain with 20 million particles of radioactive iodine-131 per liter. Per liter. Does rain fall by the liter? Iodine-131. That'll give you thyroid cancer. 20 million particles a liter. You got any idea how serious this is? Because it's not just iodine that comes through, of course, but iodine-131, absorbed radiation doses of iodine-132 was 10 times higher than 131 in northern Japan. But that's because iodine, when it's produced, there's 10 times more 132. They never bothered mentioning that to you. And that, of course, if you found 20 million becquerels, you have to multiply that by 10 to get to 132. 133 was a much bigger problem, much bigger concern than iodine-131. It was 30 times more. 30 times more. So now you have to multiply 20 million atoms by 30. Get the amount of 132 that came through your country. That's not bad enough though, trust me. 129 has a 15.7 million year half-life. Half-lives are times 10. You got to multiply it by 10. So 150 million years. A growing radiological risk. What do you think that means? It travels along with iodine-131 from Fukushima. And there's 31 times more iodine-129 than there was 131. And so if you had 131, you had all of those. But you also had all the other elements. You know, that's the problem with what we're talking about here. You can't have one without having all the other ones. Radioactive iodine-131 in Pennsylvania rainwater was 3,300% above federal drinking water standards. There is no drinking water standards, but they did add it there. They never told you that. They never announced that. Never admitted that. They just put it there. And Canada done that, of course. We've seen that here in Canada, where they introduced iodine, 131, 6 becquerels a litre. Do your children drink a litre of water every day? And so 132 is there, 133 is there, and 129 is there. And cesium is there, and there's 100 times more strontium-90 there. Every cesium number that you find. By March 21st, 5 radioactive isotopes were found in Seattle. And so that's way up the coast from California. Way up the coast. California, the jet stream comes right over California. California was nailed. It was destroyed. You can't see it. You can't hear it. You can't taste it. You can't touch it. You can't pick it up. You can't feel it. That doesn't mean it's not there. That doesn't mean it's not dangerous. That don't mean it's not an immediate threat. And that don't mean that if you live there, you're going to be fine. Okay? That means you got a really good chance of not surviving 5 or 10 years. That's what that means. And everybody is in the same boat. Every creature is in the same boat. Health Canada called 300 times background levels of iodine-131, nothing to worry about. And of course, California iodine-131 was probably double or triple what was reported. All of western US, most of East Coast, Midwest, Canada was covered with airborne particles at various altitudes. March the 20th. The Fukushima model was based solely on reactor number 1 explosion. Solely on number 1 explosion. It wasn't about the ongoing constant releases from number 1, the perpetual murder machine of number 1 that it is. It didn't include number 2, number 3, or number 4 detonations and evaporations and aerosols and atomizations. No. Why would they do that for? Calgary Sun, no need to panic. Probably. About the Fukushima fallout, the rain on Canada. The government hasn't even released the data. And when they do, they say it's minute. They say, oh, nothing to worry about. And so those people need to be dealt with. You got to deal with these people. You can't have this mass murder machine getting away what it's getting away with. They got no right to do that. We didn't hire them to go out there and lie to us. We hired them to go out there and warn us. Big difference. High concentrations of radiation hit US and Canada. Plume was rich in cesium-137. Senior scientists, 100 times more strontium than cesium in the water at the Fukushima plant. So if you got cesium, you had 100 times more strontium come through. Yeah, they're talking about Fukushima, but we're talking about it all came over here.
There are as many atoms in 1 gram of cesium-137 as there are grains of sand in all the beaches of the world. That's 10 to 21 atoms, 10 to the 21st power.
Canadian newspaper tried to get a soil tested for radiation, and private companies, government agencies, and universities wouldn't get involved because they're all the nuclear PR firms' little bitches. They're disgusting maggots. And I come across any of them, they're going to be hearing from me in a heartbeat. I'll call them the scum that they are. New type of Fukushima forecast showed radioactive cesium, remember 100 times more strontium, and iodine, remember 10 times more 132, 30 times more 133, 31 times more 129, over large sections of US and Canada, not to mention the other 2,000 radioactive elements. And you would need 2,000 Geiger counters calibrated to the 2,000 radioactive isotopes to find them all. And you need people trained how to use each one of those Geiger counters. It's disgusting. The disinformation by the nuclear apologists, they try to confuse the public, and they do. Like a banana, it's like walking in the sunshine, it's like a dental x-ray, it's like getting on an airplane. These are lies, and anybody that says that needs a shot in the mouth, and you have to disregard everything they've ever said. These are scum of the earth. These are the scum. The people that say it's like a banana needs a slap in the mouth right on the spot when they say it. People that say it's like walking in the sunshine needs a slap in the mouth.
I think a great video that really puts it into perspective is called Fukushima West Coast Impact. It's by Goddard's Journal.
Right on the spot. They hide away behind the media and you can't get your hands on them.
And it has links to a couple of dozen different studies that have been done and basically talking about dosages and how much has been detected and how much is likely to do damage. Puts it into perspective. I think a great video that really puts it into perspective.
Fortunately, in our bodies, potassium homeostasis keeps potassium radioactivity at a constant level, so eating more does not increase our internal dose. The impact of Fukushima on the radiation dose for West Coast seafood consumers will be so infinitesimal that natural sources will deliver at least 99% of the dose. Another way to look at this is that if you got cancer from the radioactivity in West Coast seafood contaminated with Fukushima fallout, 99% chance that cancer was caused by naturally occurring radionuclides.
One becquerel is equal to 1 atomic disintegration per second. 1 curie is defined as that amount of any radioactive material that will decay at a rate of 37 billion disintegrations per second. So 1 curie equals 37 billion becquerels. Sometimes these man-made radionuclides are compared to naturally occurring radionuclides, such as potassium-40, which is always found in bananas and other fruits. However, this is a false comparison, since naturally occurring radioactive elements are very weakly radioactive. In the charts from the labs that are in green up there, the radioactivity is described as a specific activity. Note that potassium-40 has a specific activity of 71 10-millionths of a curie per gram. Compare that to the 88 curies per gram for cesium-137. It's like comparing a stick of dynamite to an atomic bomb. Highly radioactive fission products such as cesium-137 and strontium-90 emit 10 to 20 million times more radiation per unit volume than does potassium-40. So which one of these would you rather have in your bananas?
Fukushima nuclear plume covered most of North America. And this was March 19, 2011, now over the North Atlantic, including the Caribbean and Canada's east coast. Devastating. And that's why they're trying to hide it, is because these are disgusting half subhumans. People in the nuclear industry are there for a paycheck and to murder you. They know what they're doing, they have the education, they're not naive, they're not gullible, they're extremely articulate, they're very well educated, and they know a lie is a lie, and they know how to make that lie more believable, and that's why they got the job. That's why Ken Buechler exists. That's why Jay Cullen at the University of Victoria exists, is to lie to you. I exist to tell you the difference. I exist because you need to know the difference. I exist because unless you know the difference, none of us have a chance. Canada suspended the mobile radiation measurements around Vancouver. Whoever said that should be beaten to death, hung up from a telephone pole in the middle of the fucking street, okay? Whoever done that should be fucking strung up, period. Canada suspends mobile radiation measurements around Vancouver, BC until further notice as the radioactive cloud looms. So Canada, the people in Health Canada sold us out. They sold us out. They sold their own children, their own family, their own friends, and themselves out. They sold out all their neighborhood, their entire community, and the entire country, and the entire planet. We never paid them to do that. We paid them to tell us. We never paid them to turn it off. They got no right to do that. They shut it off in Saanich Peninsula, down by Vancouver, on the 22nd of March. Just, what the fuck is wrong with you people that you shut this down? Who the fuck do you think you are? Mobile surveys. Victoria, March the 22nd, Jay Cullen's territory. They shut it down and rolled out Jay Cullen. That's why Jay Cullen is so fucking evil. That's why he's so fucking dark. That's why he's so fucking twisted. He knows this. Vancouver, March the 24th. Categorie, where I'm to right now, March the 24th, they shut down the Geiger counters in the Categorie, and now we got Disneyland up there in Masset telling people there's no radiation. It's disgusting. Vancouver, March the 25th, they shut down the radiation detecting equipments. We didn't pay to have that shut down. We paid to be told what was coming through. And I want those people's heads on stakes in the near future. I want to see them in jail or swinging from a fucking pole. These are the worst people on the planet. Ted Bundy got nothing on the people that shut this down. The people that done that are fucking traitors, period. Latest forecast is all California on the radiation threat, April the 6th and 7th. It didn't stop, see? It doesn't stop. It's still doing that. Norwegian Institute for Research. Largest pieces of radioactive tsunami debris could arrive on the west coast of US and Canada within days. November 10, 2011. Because the ocean currents are fucking real. Where I'm to right now is kept warm all year. Well, the upper part of the coastline in particular, where I just came from. Masset, at the northwest corner of Canada, right on the Pacific Ocean, is kept warm by the Pacific Ocean coming over from Japan. The warm water's coming over from Japan. But no, radiation can't come with that, Dana. You kooky fucking conspiracy theorist, you. Canada suspends mobile radiation measurements around Vancouver, BC until further notice as the perpetual murder machine first shows up. They went in and shut it all down. What more do you need to know about your government? What more do you need to know besides their names? That's what I want. I want their fucking names. I want their fucking names that done this. I don't care about anything else. I want their fucking names. I want to fucking publicly go after these fuckers. April the 16th forecast showed a radioactive cloud stretching from Texas to Canada. That's why they shut off the radiation detecting equipment. So you wouldn't know. So you wouldn't keep your children home during the big clouds that were originally coming through. So they can all die. That's why they done it. Because they fucking hate you. Your government hates you. You pay them to go do a job and they think they fucking owe you. Well, in the near future, we will fucking hang every one of them. Trust me. That's what's going to happen. Because people are not going to sit and fucking take it any longer. Fukushima forecast uninterrupted line of radiation stretched across the Pacific, tracking towards the west coast of US and Canada. And of course, Canadian government ran in there and shut it all fucking down, right? No, we don't want them to know anything. Just shut it down until further notice. And there was no further notice. They never turned it back on. They never even explained who done it. They didn't do anything, only shut it down. They didn't do the job you paid them to do. They sold you out. They fucking stabbed you to death with radioactive atoms. These are fucking murderers, period. Color-corrected images shows constant flow of smoke and steam. This is the radioactive releases, not smoke, not steam. It's radioactive releases, and it's non-stop. It will never fucking stop, because we only send the homeless in there because we're cowards, because our government is cowards. And that's why they will not have a pension. That's why they have no future. And we need the capital punishment for these fuckers. The person who done that needs to hang, or be electrocuted, or be fucking shot and on public TV. These are the fucking traitors. Period.